All right. Happy Friday, boys and girls of fourth grade. I am here today to show you how to do this Google Slide independent practice. I had some parents ask me questions about how to do the drop and drag, so I'm here to show you how to do it. So here we are in Google Classroom where all your assignments are. This is the assignment for the week. 11 of you have already turned it in. Very important first step, watch both of the lesson videos before you even try to do your work. Do not turn in work to me if you haven't watched the lesson. Don't do it. Okay, so once you've watched both of these videos, and it should take you about 15 minutes to get through both of them, maybe 20, depending if you have to stop and pause. You're going to click on the Poetry the Poetry Comprehension Google Slides. Click on it. This week, I've made a copy for each student, so no one else should be writing on your work. For this example, I am going to erase the example I did for another kid, so you have a blank slate to work from. So when you get to the point to type your answer here, you put it into this box. To be able to see better, you want to zoom in. So you're going to go to this little magnifying glass right here. All right. And you're going to hit the drop down to 100. That makes everything a whole lot bigger. Off to the side on some of these slides, I've given you stuff to work on. A part of it is using the 5 senses as you go through these poems. So read the instructions first so you don't forget this stuff on the side. It says, after you read the poem, complete the task below. Which of the 5 senses does the author use to describe the spooky night? Drag and drop the sentence words next to the example in the text. So I'm going to start with that piece. A creaking door, a floating figure, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Boys and girls, a creaking door is something I would hear, that creaking sound. So I'm going to take the hearing word right here and put it next to that first line. Now, a floating figure is something I would taste? No. Touch? Probably not. Smell? No. Hear? No. A floating figure is something I could see, and our seeing word for this is sight. So I'm going to move that word right here. And that's all I want you to do for that first activity. Now, you might not be able to use all of the 5 senses for this poem. It's a spooky poem, so there might not be very much description of taste, but you'll have to go through and decide for yourself. The next piece is to highlight the frights or the scary things that happen to the boys in this poem in yellow. So I've also already done an example of that here. Sorry, I'm getting text messages. I apologize. So a floating figure, that's something that kind of makes me think of a ghost. And I feel like that could be scary. So I highlighted that in yellow. And the highlighted pieces are going to be off to the side over here too. A creepy noise I highlighted in yellow because I thought that might be a scary moment for the boys in the poem. A blow on their neck. So they're in this spooky place and they feel someone blowing on their neck, breathing on their neck, which means that somebody is behind you that you didn't know was there until you feel their breath on your neck. So I felt like that was going to be kind of scary. So I'm going to highlight that too. You get to decide what you think the scary things are for the boys in this poem. And when you see them, highlight them. You have I think 8 highlight strips. So use them. The last thing it says, for the question number one officially is find one example of exaggeration in the poem and underline it in blue. So here's the blue line I give you. You could put it anywhere you would like, but it needs to be an example of exaggeration. Now, an exaggeration is when you make something a bigger deal than it actually is. Um, like if you say to your parents, if you don't get me this new game, I'm gonna just die. Now, that's not actually true. What you're saying is you're gonna be really sad if you don't get the game, but it's not actually gonna be something that kills you, right? So that's an exaggeration. So as I'm going through the poem, a creaking door, that's not an exaggeration. A floating figure, no. And it just keeps getting bigger. It could be getting bigger. None of this sounds like a big exaggeration where I'm making a bigger deal out of something in the first stanza. So I have to keep going. A creepy noise, a blow on the neck, and it's starting to scare these boys to death. Now, this is what I'm deciding to underline here because just like in my example, if you don't get that game, you're not gonna die. Being scared in this moment is probably not gonna cause these boys to die. Being scared to death just means that you're really, really scared. So in my example answer, I said, it says, why do you think the author used this line? It's starting to scare the boys to death. The author wanted to show how scared the boys were and make it a big deal for the reader. And that's kind of my example. I'm going to replace all this stuff on the side so you can do this on your own. And hopefully, this video really helps you guys do this assignment. There are two more poems. I'm not going to go through them. This one is Teacher's Pet. Make sure you look off to the side of the poem. I might have some things there for you to move over to where the poem is. There aren't any of those. Oh, there's one of those in this last poem, The Dishes. And I think there's a couple things for you to underline, one thing for you to circle in the second poem. So good luck with this. If you have any questions, feel free to call me and have a great weekend, guys. I can't wait to see all this great work you turn in. Trying to turn it off.